So thank you again to everyone for joining. We're really excited to talk to you about this topic today, how the smartest companies are switching CPQs with AI and automation. If you've been following along with us for a little bit now, you know how seriously we're taking our AI capabilities and how seriously we take the general ease of our administration and setup capabilities. So we're excited to dig in with you on that today. Just to quickly review the agenda, we're going to do a brief intro to the speakers and the topics that we're going to go through today. And then we're going to highlight 6 key ways that AI and automation can make switching your CPQ easier. So we're going to really focus on the intelligent ways, AI-enabled and automation-enabled ways that switching to a solution like Logic is easier than it's ever been. It's not as tedious as it is with legacy solutions. And so we're going to highlight all 6 of these components, and then we're going to go right into a demo where we're going to show you how each of these work. So we're really excited for that. A couple quick housekeeping notes. You'll all receive a recording within the next 24 hours after this presentation. And as always, please feel free to drop questions in the Q&A box, which should be at the bottom of your screen here, and we will address those at the end. So again, feel free to go and put those in throughout the presentation, and we'll make sure we can get to as many as we can. Awesome. So just to start out here, just to introduce our speakers, my name is Blake. I'm our SVP of Marketing and Business Development here at Logic. I'm joined by Fazil, who's our head of product and one of our co-founders here, as well as Sharon, who is our AI team lead. He's going to be talking a lot about the AI capabilities we've developed and evolved as of late. And then we have Navia, who's one of our lead sales engineers, who's going to be leading the demo for us today. So great group of speakers that should be able to walk us through all this here over the next 45 minutes. So just to set the stage here, why are we focusing on this topic of how AI and automation can help, making the switch to a solution like Logic easier? I think that for anyone on this call who's actually had to go and implement a new CPQ before or started to evaluate what it would take, you've probably experienced at least one of these obstacles that we see here, at least one of these concerns, right? It tends to be a very costly manual rebuild. There tends to be a lot of really tedious rule rewriting that needs to be done even after the migration is done, and it can tend to be very error prone. There's always the risk of data loss as you go through as well, right? You risk losing your customer data, you risk losing critical data to your processes. And at the end of the day, I think most folks who have had to implement a new CPQ before have experienced some sort of delay or some sort of surprise, whether that's during the go live process, during the implementation process, during post-launch, right? That's traditionally been the norm when it comes to CPQ solutions. But we're really approaching these challenges differently than legacy solutions of the past. And really what we believe here at Logic is that embedding AI and intelligent automation tools into not only the migration process, but the setup and continued administration of CPQ is going to be essential and is going to be table stakes for modern CPQ solutions now and going forward, right? We are kind of on the cutting edge of this right now, but we believe that this will be an imperative for companies going forward as they're looking to implement best-in-class CPQ solutions, right? And we believe that because it's accelerating the time to value, right? It's allowing for seamless data continuity. It's allowing you to write your rules and get all of your data into the system and set up appropriately faster, and do so in a way that's going to be error-free from day one with less hiccups, less delays, less costs along the way, right? As AI and automation in general are getting embedded in all of the systems that we use, we're taking a really thoughtful approach to how we believe this will look for the future of CPQ. So we're really excited to highlight a bunch of these capabilities today. And as we get started, I will just do a quick overview for those of you who might not be familiar with Logic in general. This is kind of an overview of how we look at Logic and all of the capabilities or a high level look at the capabilities that Logic has. And like I mentioned, we're not only embedding AI and automation into how we look at the AI administration and setup and migration, we're embedding it into every single part of the cycle that we manage. So we're really excited to focus on those admin and migration capabilities today. But we have a lot of other resources to highlight where else we're embedding AI throughout our solution as well that we can highlight later. Cool. So I will pass it off to you, Fazil, to start us off. The first thing that we want to highlight, which we've been working on really hard lately, is our logic migrate tool, specifically about how we go and handle migration of metadata like products, rules, pricing, bundles, things like that. So Fazil, I'll pass it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Blake, and thanks for the great setup. I think, as you said, that I think is a key part around the migration of metadata. I think two things have happened very well over last few years in the CPQ space. The customer expectations, because they are implementing not their first CPQ, but most likely their second or in some cases third CPQ, as well as the technology readiness to be able to do automation has become a lot more possible. And we at Logic, as always, like to challenge that status quo where people are typically used to long net new implementation of CPQ products, which means their go lives take time, as you said. We believe we can change and elevate the market to a new norm where people can expect faster ROIs out of their CPQ implementations. And the way we did that over last few months, which we also showed, I think, in the last webinar, was around migration, logic migrate and migrating metadata. So when we talk about metadata, specifically if you are using Salesforce CPQ as one of the common CPQ tools out there, you have product bundles, pricing rules, sometimes some advanced scripts, custom objects, all of those pieces. Our teams with our expertise was has analyzed what that looks like, and we were able to look at what that translation could be so that customers could see value of logic in matter of days, not weeks and months. So they can at least have a starting point where all the existing logic they've defined, although they could define it in a different way, better way, that's always true with new CPQ tools, but there is a lot of value in at least getting them started and over time letting them adopt the new features of a new product on their own terms. That's what Logic Migrate enables. And not only we did the bundles and some of the simple table structures, those are somewhat easier to migrate, which you guys might have seen. We also are starting to tackle more advanced things, and we will show you in the demo today what that looks like, where you are not only migrating tables, but also expressions and more complex business logic into logic through an automated process, leveraging AI and our platform capabilities.
Awesome. Thanks, Fazil. And the other thing that I wanted to make sure that we talked about is alongside metadata, which, like you said, is important for getting up to speed quickly. We get a lot of requests for, hey, how do we help you migrate all of your existing CPQ data, like your contract subscriptions, et cetera? So can you hit on that for a minute?
Sure, sure. And this is at the continued premise that customers are implementing their second or third CPQ. One of the interesting things, at least even we saw, and honestly, our customers kind of made us realize when we started Logic, is if you think about a new CPQ implementation, traditionally CPQ vendors focused on getting the new orders, capturing the new orders or new codes first, and over time migrating existing codes. And that was sort of an accepted practice for a long time. But if you think about a business which is in the recurring business model, 80% of their transactions are likely related to renewal and amendments. So the ROI is just backwards unless you tackle this problem. So our customers kind of wanted to understand what Logic can do in this area. And in fact, I'm very proud of our team that we were able to migrate hundreds of thousands of codes for customers before their go live over a weekend in matter of hours. So that's what migration of data is. We not only look at your current open codes, the codes you may be working on, you may be looking at your current open product configurations, which you're moving from an existing tool, but also your subscriptions and assets. So how do you give shape to your subscription and assets that if the salesperson after your live on Logic comes in on day one, whether they need to do an amendment or renewal or a new quote, they get the same unified experience. Again, this is something which I don't think was the norm in our industry. And I'm optimistic that our initiative that we have done successfully with many enterprise customers now, where in matter of hours we are able to migrate their existing data, will inspire everybody to start doing this as a common practice because that will be good for our for all the customers of CPQ.
Great. Thanks, Basil, for hitting on that. Sharon, I wanna pass it to you as we start to talk about some of our AI capabilities. We just hit on some of the capabilities that we have to help our customers migrate into some of their data into Logic. Once the admins are actually in Logic, I want you to start with our admin assist capabilities to talk about how we make it easier for those folks to actually build and set up within the tool.
Thanks, Blake. Before offering like uh something like AI Admin Assist, a feature-rich platform like Logic only becomes powerful when your deep knowledge as an admin works for you. Um, that is why we use AI to build such an agent so that every Logic admin at whatever level they're at can get access to this knowledge. This is, from my understanding, the first product, the AI product that Logic built. We wanted this sort of expertise with all Logic admins at all times. Keeping up with constant improvements in AI iteratively, this agent utilizes the best LLMs in the market, along with a pretty well curated and quality controlled set of data that is picked to help admins. An example of what you can use an AI admin assist agent is why use pick list extensions? I pretty much had this question for probably the first 2 months, and I kept asking it, and the value of such a tool is super important both internally and externally. What would be an alternative to this? You would probably go through a bunch of docs. You would probably write an IT ticket. You would probably do a little bit of experimentation. And you would maybe spend about an hour. That's just an estimation, but instead of doing that, using something like the AI Admin Assist, you can cut this time down to probably a couple of seconds or a minute. This sort of a product really helps you mitigate risk and slower implementations when you're within Logic.
Great. Thanks, Sharon. I think like the point about time to value and just speed of getting things set up is really important. Obviously, a huge value of AI that we've built. And along those lines, I wanted to make sure that we hit on our rule authoring capabilities with function assist. So can you talk about how we make advanced function writing easier with AI too?
Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of you have been keeping up with the latest advancements with coding LLMs lately. Here at Logic, we have not missed out on delivering the value of utilizing these LLMs. Rules are a central part of the Logic platform. Rules allow admins to write actions and conditions that hide, show content, pull data, calculate prices, and much, much more, right? When you create these on the UI, it's pretty functional, but the real power of this is unlocked when you code them in JavaScript. Some of you might say, Sharon, I don't want to code. To that, I say it's 2025. Sometimes, as a software engineer, I don't need to code anymore. To this regard, we built a rule and function assist agent that leverages cutting edge LLMs, possibly fine tuned, that translates natural language to JavaScript code. We have an example here on the right. Maybe some of you are asking, give me a product action that reads the value of product ID from BOM info table based on the value of product matching value of parent ID processed as input. Something like this is no problem for the agent. We want to give you something close to a no-code experience akin to what Agentforce is promising out there. As an alternative, without this agent, an admin may have to go through a complex set of interactions with an expert, pour through some more documentation, and similarly probably spend like a couple of hours versus a minute or two. With recent advances in protocols such as MCP, Model Context Protocol, for those that don't know, and agent to agent, my vision for these two agents I just talked about is we want these to interact with other agents out there and make interacting with Logic a lot easier.
Thanks, Sharon. And the last AI capability that we wanted to hit on here is some of our AI guided selling capabilities. And specifically, there's obviously a massive end user impact to this, but wanted you to talk specifically about how this helps in admin, right? How it helps in terms of actually making it more effective as an admin. So can you talk a little bit about this capability that we have?
Yeah. So this is my favorite AI product within Logic. We hear the adage, data is gold, data is your best moat for AI. Our answer to that is our AI guided selling capabilities. Within the CPQ space, I think one of the hardest problems to solve is making your configuration data work for you. At the core of this product is a generative AI model that bootstraps with limited customer data, learns real buyer behavior, and delivers powerful predictions, like a recommender system, on the buy side for your customers. On the admin side, every admin gets a streamlined MLOps platform that lets them train and deploy these cutting-edge generative AI models with flexibility in terms of what data is being used, and like the data ranges they want to choose. These models are capable of replacing hard-coded logic of multiple rules being written. This is a ton of work for admins if they would choose to write thousands of inclusion, exclusion rules. And something like this can just completely cut that time for them. Looking towards the future, we probably want to use something like AutoML to further customize your models and deliver better accuracy and precision, thus reducing the amount of time admins spend on such a task.
Great. Thanks, Sharon. We're super excited about all the AI capabilities that you're helping us build and lead the market on. Before we hand it over to a demo here, the last thing that we wanted to hit on was some of our other intelligent capabilities. Once you actually start to set up configurations and guided selling experiences within Logic, how do you actually optimize and test on some of these things and troubleshoot as you go? So Fazil, can you hit on this before we head over to a demo?
Sure. It's a lot of pressure if I'm the last person between the demo. So I would not hold you guys from the demo too long. But the main thing which I would say is, if you think about all the things Sharon highlighted, and we talked about migrate, it's kind of stages, right? So we do the onboarding of the customer where we can leverage the technology and AI correctly. We can help customers tune and implement their configuration or coding rules, business logic well. And then the last and the long tail, honestly, where majority of the customers will spend majority of their lifetime in a CPQ tool is maintenance, diagnostics, and new product introduction, ongoing changes. So from day one, we've been very focused on ease of admin, as Blake said at the start of the webinar. And for us, this was important because we wanted to make sure not only you can do all these things well, but you have the right diagnostics in place, the right safeguards and guardrails in place for you to see and make changes easily on what is happening. When you have large scale systems which are building houses, sheds, which are building golf carts, which could be building high-end servers, which are 6, 7 figures of price, there is going to be a lot of complication in your business. So your ability to diagnose if some rule may not be written correctly, maybe somebody made a human error, that happens, right? Or even AI, as we know, agents could make an error. How do you have those guardrails in place? And that's where we have implemented things like flight path, hyperjump, ability to even detect rule diagnostics, how the rule flow is running, if there are cycles. We invest a lot of time in building those tools and making those available to our admins. And why is that important in this webinar topic, right? When we think about AI and automation, one of the things with agentic AI, which everybody starts to talk about, is how agents can act on behalf of humans, which is awesome. But if you know that AI systems are probabilistic, there's a good chance that they will not always do the exact same thing, and they might do things which may be wrong. These guardrails, these subsystems which we have built as part of our core solving engine, I believe the world's fastest solving engine for sales configurators, We built all these subsystems as well and guardrails, which are not only helping us with our ease of admin, but are also helping us introduce these AI capabilities, like what Sharon talked about. Our ability to do smart guided selling within the guardrails of what is possible becomes a lot more natural, and making sure that our customers will not get inaccurate configurations. So that's, if you look at it before we get to the demo, if you think about these three things from onboarding to implementation to the maintenance aspect, we have the systems in place for not only humans getting that ease of admin experience, but also AI agents getting the tools and the guardrails to have a reliable application, not just a platform where you hope people can build agents. We can just get the right agents built for you. That is our value prop.
Awesome. Thanks, Fazil, and thanks, Sharon, for walking us through that and teeing us up here. Navia, we'll pass it to you to lead a demo of all the capabilities that we just talked through. So over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Blake. All right, so we are going to start out with logic migrate. Let's say I've got some bundles, custom objects, some configuration rules in Salesforce that I want to quickly move into logic. So I'll start out, just open my Salesforce environment here. Let's take a look at some product bundles. I'm going to quickly highlight a specific one that will move over, but you'll see when I open the bundle, I have, in a minute, here we go, all of the configuration rules, features, options, constraints, configuration attributes, all of this data we need to move into logic. Similarly, I've got some price rules. We'll take a look at a couple of simple ones here. I've got simple price rule 5, as well as this discount calculation rule with the conditions, the price actions, and then we'll compare this to what it looks like in logic. And I also have the ability to move in these custom objects. So some of the data from my inventory table here, I need to move into logic as well. We'll also take a look at my new logic environment. It's blank right now. You'll see there are no blueprints or configuration experiences, no fields, no rules. Let's look at, I don't have an inventory table. And then even at my transaction level, so really the quote line, the quote details, the header level fields and rules, I just have my system fields that are in here. And then we can take a look at specifically my transaction line or quote line rules. Nothing exists. Now to start the migration, really easy to just come in, give it a new name. Let's say this is my spring migration 423. And then I have a list of assets to choose from for what I want to migrate over. In this case, I'm going to choose everything from the bundles, custom objects, my product and price rules, and the transaction level data. And then I just have to define my source environment. That's going to be my Salesforce CPQ environment, and my destination, which is the logic environment that I just showed you. Now, in each of the next steps, I'm just getting a list of everything that's existing within that source environment, right? Which bundles do I actually want to move over? Let's focus on that basic Smart Bytes bundle. And then for my source objects, here are all of the custom objects in Salesforce that I could move over. In this case, we want to move that inventory. And now I need to create a mapping for what that's going to look like in logic, right? Again, I'm going to give it the same name for the table. What fields do I want in here? Essentially, what columns of data? Really, the important things for me are going to be the product, and we want the quantity that's on hand or available, right? So that'll be a number field. So I'm just defining that table schema, and then I need to map that to the custom object, right? So product name in Salesforce, I want that to map to my product column in logic. And then let's do quantity on hand goes to quantity. I want to migrate all of the product rules, but again, you can see there's different pieces of data tied to each of these. I can review and determine if I only want to move some. And then I have all of my transaction level fields. These are going to be the header level quote fields. In this case, we're going to go ahead and do it all. Same thing with the quote line fields. And then those price rules. So again, you can see specifically the ones that I pulled open. And now with the review screen, really great for me to take a look at a summary of the environments, right? The number of bundles, tables, product rules that I'm migrating over, and a summary so that I can double check, make sure everything looks good, and then I can start the migration process. So we just get a new line in our summary here, or our main screen. You'll see it switch to complete, but right now it's in progress. And I'm gonna go back into the logic environment and just refresh this. Let's start taking a look, and you'll see it's already starting to move things over. So even in just a matter of seconds, we can see there's new information here. I've got the, let's start on the transaction. If I go to my rules here, you'll see I have a number of transaction line rules that I've pulled through. These are all those price rules, right? We can take a look at the simple price rule 5. It comes in with a simple condition. This is a pretty standard, easy rule, right? So we can move those basic ones in. And if we go back and take a look at the discount calculation rule, you know, this one's a little more complex, has multiple conditions, and we can see there's even some advanced or complex math calculations that are coming over. So we can do any of that advanced calculation as well. For my configuration, we see there's a new blueprint that's available, or a unique configuration. That's for the Smart Bytes bundle. Within that, I see, hey, here's a standard field. We have several product pickers or fields to choose from, you know, all of the different features and options. And then I have all of the rules that have moved over as well. The great thing is a layout has even been assigned to this experience. So Logic has come up with, and our AI agent has come up with a relevant layout and even deployed the blueprint. So right off the bat, in just minutes, I have a ready configuration to be able to start using Logic for that bundle. Going back to my landing page, we can see that this migration has been completed. I can take a look, download a status report, which gives me a really nice summary of everything that was moved over, a snapshot of, you know, what was migrated. We can actually see how long it took. I'm going to go ahead and download that here, open it up. Taking a look at this document. Now we see that snapshot. Again, we can see there's some assets that failed, and we actually get a readout on exactly what happened, what are the recommended next steps. And you can see this migration only took 35 seconds, right? That's how quick and performant the solution is. We want to get the customers started earlier, faster, and make that implementation a lot more seamless. Within the document, you can see the custom object migration, all successful. The product rules, this is where we saw some failures, but really great. We get a nice readout of what the reasoning was for why this couldn't migrate over and any recommended next steps to proceed. So very clear to the user as to what to do next. Okay, the second migration demo, I want to go a step further, and we're actually able to start converting these QCP or quote calculator plugin scripts from Salesforce into Logic rules. So where in Salesforce previously, you know, you require a lot of custom code in order to achieve a lot of these complex configuration rules, we want to translate that into Logic, make that a lot easier. And for this example, all I have to do is paste in my QCP script as is. I don't need to know exactly what it does, but I'm going to paste it in here. And just for our understanding, your understanding here, the script just running a function on validate here to look at all the discounts for each line item. If it exceeds 50%, you'll see we want to fire an error. And then it also checks to ensure that a price book has been selected. Now, in Logic, this would most likely be achieved in multiple rules or actions on a rule with some advanced scripting. And when I click Generate PDF, this is where the magic happens. Behind the scenes, we're leveraging Logic's platform and AI to parse through this QCP script, break it down into functional components, and auto-generate this fully structured guide, all within seconds. So you can see right now the script is split into these easily digestible blocks, right? I get a description of exactly what's happening, what that script is doing. We outline what type of action needs to be created in logic, what the condition logic is, greater than 50, what those parameters are. The target fields, so what is actually being impacted, what fields need to be referenced within logic. And then finally, the actual action itself. So this is the corresponding JavaScript code that is in line with what logic supports. This can be directly copied into logic's action screen in the admin console. I can download this PDF, easily send that over to implementation teams. It'll just give them a head start on how to convert these scripts and get up and running in logic faster and seamlessly. All right. Switching gears to another environment, let's look at the AI agents within Logic's admin console. As an administrator creating new configuration experiences, I may have some questions about how to set up certain logic features. Our admin assist agent actually allows users to easily find support articles, instructions for setup, just get additional direction. So let's say I'm curious about how to use solution configuration as an admin. I'm going to submit that question to Cosmo, and within seconds, he's giving me a step-by-step guide on how to activate solution configuration, that feature, how to map the different products, and then any related articles as well for some deeper detail if needed, right? So gone are the days I need to sift through hundreds of support articles, be contacting a member of the support team, right? In just seconds, I've got an answer to get me started. Cosmo can also reference all of our API documentation. So as we get more technical and we get into the weeds of these integrations, I can see exactly what admin APIs are available along with some additional resources. So all of the links to our articles will be available. Going a step deeper, our GenAI agent Cosmo can help admins actually write those complex math rules. So again, in this example, I've got a configuration experience or a blueprint for a data storage solution. And one of the components in that experience is pricing out some implementation services and grabbing the necessary rates. So I have a table that actually houses those rates you'll see for each of the resources that might be assigned to a project. I've got the role and then each level and then their corresponding rates. I need a rule in configuration that actually queries that table and pulls in the necessary rates based on the role and level that a user is selecting during configuration. I've already set up a rule. I have a condition, and then I've got my action preset. This is a determination rule to determine what that rate is. And down here is where I can opt in for an advanced function because I need to do a table lookup. Now I have the ability to write those functions and rules, but as a non-technical admin, I may not know exactly where to start or the exact syntax, but no worries. I am going to ask Cosmo in plain English what I need. And we're going to just say from the table rates, I want to return that rate when the role is these configuration fields. Cosmo is going to take a look at that and provide me with a sample script to get me started with the correct syntax. So all I need to do in seconds is insert that snippet, clean it up, and then I am good to go. So we are significantly cutting down the admin time, enabling users to extend the tool where needed and get a head start there. Okay, moving out of the admin, we also have AI agents that are available on the end user side. So you heard about Smart Predict and Flight Path. Let's take a look here in this demo. Consider me now a new sales rep at a data storage company. I've got a customer who wants a budgetary quote ASAP. I've only had an intro call with them, so I've limited information about their use case. And let's say I've already created a new opportunity and a new quote. I've launched the logic configurator for this data storage solution. You'll notice in the UI, I have several questions to answer about my customer's requirements, which is going to crank out, what's the recommended solution. Questions like what data workloads are going to be stored, what type of data, how it's accessed, how frequently, and the number of terabytes that they currently have. But because I'm newer, I've only had that intro call, right? I only have a few bits of info. But I'm going to start to answer the questions. I know my customer needs AI workloads. They have unstructured data right now, and they've got around 100 terabytes of data. Well, already you can see the sparkle icon appears on several of the fields. It also appears in the top right. That indicates that our Smart Predict agent has some recommendations. So based on historical configuration data, what customers with similar requirements have purchased in the past, Logic is recommending the corresponding annual data growth rate. We can see it's 7%, the support plan, license type, and so on, for the most likely solution that will meet this customer's needs. And I want to call out for the features that are necessary. We've got 99.9% uptime. How frequently will the data be accessed? Moderately. And our annual data growth rate is 7%. But let me go back and let's make some changes. I'm going to add in, okay, I'm learning a little bit more about my customer. They have more workloads. They actually also have unstructured data. And actually, they want to size up and include, more of those workloads. So they've got 200 terabytes to begin. If I opt into Smart Predict, you'll see the recommendations are totally different, right? So it's reanalyzed my inputs and now determined that, hey, these are the features that are necessary. Typically, data is going to be accessed frequently when you've got structured data and that many workloads. And then the growth rate for that size is going to be a lot higher. Okay, once I actually apply these recommendations, you'll see within seconds or minutes, I've got a valid configuration. Several line items have populated, and I can proceed with this quote, right? And as users continue to use Logic to configure, the model is going to get better and better with its recommendations without a single manual rule being written, right? This is all based on that historical data and the data that is being analyzed here. Okay, let's go ahead and reset this. Our final feature today is going to be flight path. And as Blake and Fazil mentioned, we have the ability here to troubleshoot, essentially record a live configuration session, hone in on the changes and the rules that are running in the background, take a glance at what's going on, and see how long each click is taking to process. I've reset this same configuration experience, and these two icons allow me to activate flight path. First, I want to start recording the session, and as I start to configure this data storage solution, these are the 3 workloads. I have unstructured data, maybe some features I want to select, as well as a size of data. Now, let's make a couple more selections. If I opt into the flight path agent, we can now see these are all of the clicks that I made, right? And we can see the performance again is in millisecond response times, 3 milliseconds, 5, 30 milliseconds, right? This is a testament to our advanced solving engine, right? We're only running the rules that are impacted by the change. And then if I hone in further on each click, we can actually see, okay, this is when I changed my data type. It was a user input to unstructured. We can see what rules were impacted. Okay, it looks like it set the the access frequency to infrequent. And these are the other rules that it's impacted. These are other inputs or attributes that are impacting those rules as well. And if I go further, okay, this one took a little longer, 30 milliseconds, right? Still quick, but what was the reason? All right, this is when I input the amount of data. And that's because we have some calculations running to chug out, okay, what's the recommended amount of backup storage? And then we can also see an action for the manufacturing BOM. We've got 2,500 actions running, right? So even though we have several things running in the background, the response time is still in milliseconds. We can see the other inputs that impact the rule. We can dig deeper and see this visual representation of our solving engine, of what's going on in the background. And really, as an admin, I can automatically, or FlightPath is going to automatically help me detect any bottlenecks, rule conflicts, and just visualize what's going on as a user uses the tool. Okay, that is the end of my demo. So thank you for tuning in. And I think we have maybe a few minutes for questions.
Yeah, thank you, Navia. Awesome demo. Awesome demo. Thanks for rolling through all those capabilities pretty quickly there. So we have a couple great questions in the chat. The first one I'll start off with that I'll direct towards you, Fazil. A few questions about this. For Logic Migrate, do we have a roadmap for other tools beyond Salesforce CPQ migrations, Oracle, SAP, Apttus, etc.?
Oh, that's a great question. Whoever asked it is my favorite person. But so as a product manager, we always look at the future. So thank you for asking that question. So the first answer is yes. The way we have implemented Logic Migrate is we first created like the more core platform, and we started with Salesforce CPQ. So we are building few things specific to Salesforce CPQ to deliver like a productized migration for that. But the core platform and the constructs we have built to move data into Logic will be applicable for other CPQ tools as well. We are looking probably at some of the popular ones or the more common ones. You can imagine SAP VC variant configurator is something we are looking at. We are also looking at Oracle CPQ, especially, and all these other tools. And not only that, we are also looking at probably more file-based data, like some lot of our customers still are running CPQ on Excel. So we are also starting to look at that area and start looking at migration. So stay tuned in coming months, a lot will come.
Great, thanks, Fazil. Switching gears a little bit to our AI capabilities. Question was, is there any way for a customer using Logic to opt out or turn off Logic AI on a continuing basis?
So the answer is yes. So just in general, our principle has been, because we know enterprises have their data privacy and they need to be in control of their data. We respect that wish very well. So there are two levels we do it at. Number one, we have the control of choosing which AI features are available in a given environment, in a given tenant to our customers. And on top of that, we let our admins control each and every AI feature which we make generally available to control. So whether it's function assist, admin assist, smart, the guided selling, even converts, which is a recent feature we introduced, we give you the controls so that you can choose when to enable it on your own terms.
Perfect. Thanks, Fazil. Another question that we had was around flight path. So the question is, would flight path show each script that is called when you change something, specifically scripts, since those are hard to track down sometimes?
Yes, so it can track the scripts as well. So two things will happen. One aspect is it will it will segment all the conditions and action fields very clearly for you, and within it will at least point you to the area where the script is being used. Now, one of the things which we are working on for flight path and function assist kind of together is the ability to start analyzing particular areas of the script, like running diagnostics of where in the script this might be happening. So we think we can get it more granular, but it will at least point you to the script today.
Got it. Cool. We had a couple questions just around integration with ERP. So if you could just generally talk about our integration capabilities with ERP, Fazil, that would be great. And then a specific question around when pricing and costs are coming from ERP, like Oracle, how is that integrated and consumed by CPQ, and how can it be synced back into ERP as well?
Okay, so there might be a couple of points here, and Blake, keep me honest if we answer it all, otherwise we'll break it down. So at a high level, because we have always been in the business of building composable application, and nature of CPQ application always is kind of in the middle of CRM and ERP. So from day one, our integration capabilities were very core to our value offering. We have done quite a bit of integration with ERP, but we generally keep it more generalized. So the way we have done it is through some of the core admin constructs we provide. We have the ability to provide more of a data integration where you can bring data to keep your front office systems running faster. We also provide constructs for you to make real-time calls to your ERP systems, potentially for during configuration to, let's say, look up some information. Sometimes maybe some costing or some inventory information may need to come in real time. We provide you those constructs. And we have already worked with our customers where we are able to take, let's say, a logic configuration and push it down to your SAP or Oracle ERP systems, for example, to not only create the order, but also create the work orders, the ability to trigger the processes so that you can almost set it up for the assembly line and get all the instructions out. So typically we do it through tables, the connections we build out, and those constructs. And in transaction area or the quoting module, we've also added another ability of defining full-blown integration templates, which allow you to do a lot more flexible things and integrate with a lot of objects in at the same time in a consolidated manner. So those are few things we have done. As you guys saw, what we are able to do with migrate, the possibilities of the future are even more interesting because I think we can productize a bunch of things around how you set up those integrations as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Fazil. And we're just over time here, so there's a couple questions that we didn't get a chance to answer here. We will follow up with each of you individually following this webinar. I just want to be conscious of time here. So thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you to everyone who added, really great questions into the chat here. Like I said, we'll follow up with the few of you that we weren't able to get to here, but again, thank you for attending. Thank you, Navia, Fazil, and Sharon for presenting here. Like I said at the beginning, we're super excited about what we're able to do for our customers based on all the incredible AI and automation features that we've been building and just the value that it's going to bring to the market. So again, thanks to everyone for attending. You'll get a recording after this. And like I said, we'll answer all the questions offline. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.